So here we have a slightly more complicated function that I set you for homework. I looked at it again and realised because it's got a fraction inside a fraction, or it will do eventually, it's actually quite a difficult one to do, so I thought I'd take you through it. So if we look for the function of x, remember this means that we're going to take our output values from the function and plug them through, this time, the same function again. Now, instead of having x here at the top of the function, we're going to end up with a mini version of what we had before, 1 minus x over x, all divided by 1 minus x over x. Now, we don't normally write fractions inside fractions, and just to save a little bit of space, I'm going to go across here. So this is the same as having 1 minus our old x value, so two functions on top of each other, and then take our answer to all of this and divide through by 1 minus x over x. Now you might remember we don't generally divide one fraction by another, and so the much more usual approach here, don't divide by a fraction, we turn it upside down and multiply. So we've got 1 take away 1 minus x over x from the first set here, so that's going to come down here, and we're going to turn it into multiply by x over 1 minus x, like that. From here we've got two options, so I'm going to take you through what probably is the easier one, where we consider this as our first term and this is our second term, and then we're going to multiply inside our bracket by our fraction here. So it's just like having 1 minus a times b, and taking the b in and multiplying through. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm just going to second slide, have a look. So I'm going to multiply through by this factor on the outside. We're going to end up with x over 1 take away x. So positive 1 multiplied by this, it's still positive. Then I've got a negative here multiplied by the positive part here. So it's going to still be a take, and I've got 1 minus x over x multiplied by x over 1 minus x, and we can worry about what that actually is later on. So here I've still got x over 1 minus x take away. I hope you notice that we end up with the numerator and the denominator both being x bracket 1 minus x. So all of that simplifies down to just being a whole one. Now we still wouldn't end up leaving it like that. If you remember, you can only add or subtract like fractions with like, so instead of having minus 1, I'm going to have 1 minus x over 1 minus x. But I've got a subtraction there in the middle. X take away 1 minus x over 1 minus x. We don't want to end up making a mess with that sign. You could imagine having a 1 in there as well if that helps. So we would have x take away 1, and then minus times a minus makes a plus, still over 1 minus x. Then in the numerator we've got x plus x take away 1, so we've got 2x take away 1 over 1 minus x, and that would be our final answer. Now I know there's some aspects of this which are tricky, and some of you might be floundering here, but just remember, just that blue bit there would become x 1 minus x over x 1 minus x, and anything divided by itself is 1. Go through this solution step by step, making sure you understand each bit as we go, but a good knowledge of multiplying, dividing, adding and subtracting fractions is key. And just because it's algebra doesn't mean you don't treat it in exactly the same way as you would do if it was nice whole numbers inside your fractions.